The night on Clear 9 was silent, the twin moons casting pale light over the alien city. Human officer Kyle walked through the narrow streets, his boots echoing against the smooth metal pavement. He had been sent for a routine inspection of the alien diplomatic sector. But the quiet made him uneasy. Every shadow seemed to move with a life of its own, and the air hummed with an energy he could not name. Kyle paused as he approached a towering manor, its walls glowing faintly with colors that shifted like liquid. A soft voice drifted through the air, almost like a song. "Claim me," it said. Trembling but clear, Kyle froze, the words reverberating in his chest. He scanned the surroundings, but the street was empty, the only light coming from the shimmering walls of the manor. Then he saw them, 3 figures standing behind a translucent door, their shapes twisting in the glow. Before he could speak, the door slid shut with a sharp click, and a chorus of voices said together, "Us too." Kyle's heart began to race, his training telling him to step back. But curiosity drew him closer. The manor seemed alive, the walls pulsing gently as if breathing. He felt a strange warmth in the air, mixed with the scent of alien flowers he did not recognize. Kyle took a cautious step forward, his eyes fixed on the shimmering door. Suddenly, a hand reached out from the darkness. Grabbing his sleeve and pulling him inside, he stumbled into a hall bathed in soft, floating light, symbols hovering in the air, moving like living stars. The young alien who had spoken first stood before him, her eyes wide, her expression a mix of fear and defiance. Kyle tried to speak. I was sent here to inspect." She shook her head sharply, stopping him. "You are not here to inspect? Human, you are here to choose, to claim." Kyle swallowed hard, unsure if he understood. The other sisters stepped from the shadows, their eyes glowing softly, each reflecting anticipation and something darker. Kyle could feel a strange pull in his chest, a connection to the room, to the girls, and to something ancient he wanted to resist, to leave, but his body would not move, as if the manor itself held him in place. The youngest girl stepped closer, her voice soft now but commanding. "Will you claim me or will you run?" Kyle's mind raced, every thought colliding. He could sense their power, the way the air vibrated with their presence. His fingers brushed against the glowing symbols, feeling energy surge through him. The sisters watched silently, their eyes never leaving him. Waiting for his choice, Kyle took a deep breath. Trying to steady his nerves, the room seemed to stretch, the walls bending slightly as if alive. Every instinct told him to retreat, but he could not deny the strange bond he felt. The girl stepped even closer, the air around her shimmering with warmth. "You cannot turn back now," she whispered. "Once you choose, everything changes." Kyle's hands clenched at his sides, his heart pounding. He looked at the other sisters, their expressions unreadable, some angry, some expectant. The energy in the room grew stronger, pulsing like the beat of a massive heart. Kyle realized that this was not just a challenge. It was a test, one that humans had never faced. He felt the weight of centuries, of unspoken laws and promises pressing down on him. The youngest girl extended her hand toward him, her gaze steady and unwavering. Kyle stepped forward slowly, unsure of what he would find. The other sisters moved slightly, closing the distance around him, their presence overwhelming. He could feel their intentions, their power and their curiosity, all focused on him. The manor seemed to respond, the glowing symbols pulsing faster, as if urging him to decide. Kyle's mind cleared for a moment, and he realized that his choice would change everything, not just for him but for these girls and for humanity. He took a deep breath and reached out his hand toward the youngest girl. The sisters watched silently, the air thick with tension. Kyle's heart pounded in his chest, every nerve alive with anticipation. The moment stretched, endless, as if time itself had stopped, and then as his fingers brushed against hers, a wave of energy surged through the room, bright and overwhelming. Kyle felt the pull of the manor, the girls, and something far older than he could understand. He knew in that instant that nothing would ever be the same again. The choice had been made, but the consequences were only beginning. Somewhere deep inside, Kyle understood that this night was only the first of many, and that the universe he thought he knew was far stranger and more dangerous than he could imagine. Kyle's hand trembled as it met the youngest girl's, her skin soft but charged with strange energy. The glowing symbols around them pulsed faster, bathing the hall in shifting colors. The other sisters moved closer, forming a circle that seemed to hum with quiet power. Kyle felt the weight of their gaze, each pair of eyes holding questions, challenges, and a quiet command. The youngest girl's voice broke the silence, soft but steady. "You chose me, human, but now you must understand what that means." Kale swallowed hard, unsure what she meant, the pulse in his chest echoing the energy in the room. "Understand what?" he asked, his voice low, trembling slightly. She stepped back slightly, motioning to the sisters around him. "They are bound to me as I am bound to them. Every choice affects us all." Kyle looked at the other girls, their faces calm but unreadable. He realized that this was more than a test, it was a binding, a connection deeper than anything he had known. The manor itself seemed alive, responding to the energy flowing between them. Symbols floated higher, circling above, their light reflecting in Kyle's eyes. "Why me?" Kale asked, feeling the weight of the moment. "Why did you choose me?" The youngest girl smiled faintly. "We did not choose, human, the universe did. And now you must see beyond your world." Kale's mind spun, the thought of destiny and choice mixing with the alien energy around him. Suddenly, one of the older sisters stepped forward, her eyes sharp and calculating. "You have power, human," she said, voice like ice and fire combined. "We need to know if you are strong enough to hold it." Kale tensed, unsure what she meant, the hairs on his arms standing on end. The youngest girl took a step closer, placing a hand lightly on Kale's chest. "It is not just strength, it is understanding, courage, and heart." Kale could feel warmth spreading from her hand, but also a strange weight pressing on his mind. He realized that the connection was more than physical. It was mental, emotional, even spiritual. The sisters circled him slowly, their movements silent but deliberate. Kyle could see the older ones exchanging subtle glances, calculating his reactions, testing his resolve. "Do you understand what you are entering, human?" the eldest sister asked, her voice low, serious, commanding. Kale nodded slowly, though he wasn't sure he truly understood. The youngest girl's eyes softened. "Then you must prove it, not with weapons or skill, but with your choices." A faint hum filled the room, resonating through the walls and floor, making Kale's chest vibrate. He looked at the sisters and felt a strange sense of unity, as if they were part of a single mind, a single purpose. "You will not be alone," the youngest whispered, "but you must earn our trust, or all will be lost." Kale nodded again, determined, though uncertainty twisted in his stomach. Suddenly a vision flashed before his eyes, showing him strange planets, battles, and alien civilizations. He gasped, stumbling backward, feeling the pull of knowledge and responsibility pressing on him. The eldest sister reached out, steadying him, her touch firm and grounding. "You are seeing what we see, human. The stakes of your choice," she said, her voice calm but intense. Kale steadied himself, trying to focus, the visions fading into the floating symbols around them. The youngest girl stepped closer again, her hand resting lightly on his arm. "You are part of this now, whether you accept it or not." Kale felt a surge of courage, the fear mixing with determination. He looked at the sisters, each waiting silently, and knew that his next words and actions would decide everything. I will do it," Kale said firmly, voice echoing in the hall. "I will understand. I will prove myself." The youngest girl smiled, a mix of relief and approval. "Good, human. Your journey begins now." The other sisters nodded subtly, their eyes softening, though still filled with quiet power. Kale felt a sense of purpose settle in his chest, the strange pull of the manor and sisters blending with his own resolve. The youngest girl guided him toward a glowing chamber at the center of the hall, symbols floating higher, forming shapes that seemed alive. Inside, the air shimmered with strange energy, and Kale realized he had stepped into something ancient, far beyond human understanding. The eldest sister spoke. "Here you will learn and you will grow, but the trials will be harsh and the choices will not be easy." Kale nodded, feeling both fear and excitement, the weight of responsibility pressing on him. The youngest girl placed her hand on the center of the glowing symbols. "Are you ready to begin?" Kale took a deep breath. "I am ready." A surge of energy swept through the chamber, the symbols spinning faster, the room vibrating with alien power. The sisters watched silently, their expressions unreadable but approving. Kale felt his mind opening, senses expanding, the universe revealing itself in flashes of light and sound. He understood in that moment that nothing would ever be the same again, and that his journey with these extraordinary beings had only just begun. Kyle's senses reeled as the chamber's energy flowed around him, symbols spinning in midair like living stars. He could feel the pull of power from the sisters, each of them radiating strength and authority. The youngest girl, whose name he still did not know, guided him to the center of the room, her hand warm and steady. "You must learn quickly," she said, voice calm but urgent. "The first trial begins now." Cale's heart pounded, a mix of fear and anticipation twisting in his chest. The other sisters formed a circle around him, their eyes fixed, unblinking, as if measuring his resolve. Suddenly, the floating symbols shifted, rearranging themselves into a glowing doorway, pulsing with energy. "Step through," the eldest sister commanded, her voice echoing in the hall, "and face what awaits inside." Cale hesitated, glancing at the youngest girl, whose expression held a mixture of encouragement and warning. He took a deep breath and stepped forward, the energy brushing against his skin like soft lightning. The moment he crossed the threshold, the world changed, the chamber fading into a swirling void of stars and shadows. Cale could see strange planets, alien cities, and strange creatures moving like living machines. A voice whispered in his mind, soft but firm, "Your courage will guide you, your heart will protect you." Cale felt the energy wrapping around him, testing his body, mind, and spirit. From the shadows emerged a creature larger than any human. Its eyes glowing with fierce intelligence, Cale raised his hands instinctively. But the creature did not attack. It circled, observing, waiting. "You must face fear without hesitation," the voice whispered again. "Only then will you succeed." Cale swallowed hard, focusing, remembering the youngest girl's words. "Courage and heart!" The creature lunged suddenly, faster than he could react, and Cale rolled to the side. Narrowly avoiding its claws, the void shifted around him, symbols flashing and rearranging themselves, showing paths and dangers he had never imagined. Cale realized that this trial was not just physical, but mental, testing his instincts and his understanding. He faced the creature again, this time stepping forward boldly. Locking eyes with it, the creature paused, sensing something in him. Hesitation or perhaps respect, Cale could not tell. He remembered the pull of the manor, the energy of the sisters, and felt a surge of determination. "I will not fail," Cale whispered, stepping closer to the creature, mirroring its movements, calm and steady. The creature stopped, tilted its head, and for a moment, Cale felt a connection as if it understood him. Suddenly, another shadow appeared, this one smaller, faster, darting from the swirling stars. Cale dodged instinctively, rolling again, the energy of the trial whipping around him like a storm. He could hear the whispers of the sisters, guiding him, encouraging him, warning him. The void pulsed brighter, symbols spinning faster, creating a labyrinth of light and shadow. Cale realized that he needed more than courage. He needed to think, to anticipate, to adapt. He studied the creature, reading its movements, learning its patterns. With careful timing, Cale moved forward, sidestepping and blocking, using the energy of the chamber to his advantage. The creature lunged again, but Cale anticipated the strike. Dodging and closing the distance, he reached out, touching the creature's glowing chest lightly, and immediately the void shifted. The creature froze, then slowly bowed its head. Acknowledging him, Cale breathed heavily, sweat mixing with the energy in the air, realizing that he had passed the first part of the trial. But the void did not fade. Instead, a new figure appeared, taller, shadowed, radiating power. Cale felt a chill, knowing that the next stage would be even harder. "The stakes higher. You have courage, human," the voice in his mind said. "But understanding comes next, patience, and heart." Cale looked at the shadowed figure, unsure what it wanted, but feeling that he had to respond not with strength, but with intelligence. He stepped forward cautiously, watching every movement, every subtle signal from the figure. The energy around him intensified, symbols spinning faster, forming walls, obstacles, and paths. Cale realized that this trial was teaching him more than courage. It was teaching him the essence of their power, the connection between choice and consequence. He felt the pull of the sisters guiding him silently, their trust building within him. Cale moved forward, adapting to the new challenges, learning the patterns, understanding the flow of energy. The shadowed figure spoke finally, its voice echoing inside his mind. "You may proceed, human, but know this. The greatest trials are yet to come." With a sudden flash, the void dissolved. Cale found himself back in the chamber. Panting, exhausted but exhilarated, the sisters circled him, their expressions unreadable but approving. The youngest girl stepping forward, placing her hand lightly on his shoulder. "You did well," she said softly, But this is only the beginning. Your journey with us has only started. Kyle nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility, the excitement, and the pull of the universe opening before him. He knew that the choices ahead would shape not just his fate, but the fate of those around him and humanity itself. Kyle stood in the chamber, chest heaving, sweat dripping down his forehead. The first trial had tested his courage, but now a heavier weight pressed upon him, something deeper than energy or physical strain. The youngest girl stepped closer, her eyes soft but serious. You survived the first test, human, but understanding comes with its own trial. Kale's heart sank slightly, the word trial echoing in his mind, knowing that each step pulled him further from safety. The other sisters formed a tight circle around him, their expressions calm but their eyes burning with quiet intensity. A faint hum rose from the chamber floor, symbols floating higher and rearranging themselves into intricate patterns. Kale could feel the energy twisting around him, forming walls, pathways, and illusions, testing not his body, but his mind. The youngest girl's voice broke through the hum. You must see what lies behind the doors of truth, human. What we have hidden from outsiders for centuries. Kale glanced at the walls, realizing they were shifting, forming translucent doors, each glowing with a faint light. He could feel the pull of destiny, tugging him toward the first door, whispering promises of knowledge and warning of danger. Steeling himself, Kyle approached the nearest door, the air thick with tension, the glow reflecting in his eyes. The moment he touched it, the door dissolved into a vision, a panorama of memories, secrets and truths. Kale gasped, seeing the history of the sisters, their lineage, and the ancient laws that bound them to one another and to the human chosen by fate. He watched as the sisters faced betrayal, loss, and victories that shaped not only their world, but the balance of the galaxy. The vision showed him why they tested outsiders, why trust was earned slowly, and why a single choice could ripple across star systems. Kale's mind reeled, trying to comprehend centuries of alien history, compressed into moments. The youngest girl's hand rested lightly on his arm, grounding him. Do you understand now, human? Kyle nodded slowly, though the weight of knowledge pressed heavily on him. I think so, but it's a lot to take in. The eldest sister stepped forward, her eyes sharp. Understanding is not enough, human. You must choose how you act upon it. Suddenly, the chamber shifted again, the floor opening into a dark space, filled with shadows and glowing symbols. Kale felt a chill, realizing this was a test of judgment, of morality, not just strength or knowledge. Figures appeared in the darkness, some familiar, some strange, representing the consequences of choice. He saw humans and aliens, worlds thriving and worlds falling into chaos, each connected to decisions he might make. The youngest girl's voice echoed, every choice has consequence. Every action shapes reality. Are you ready to face it? Kyle swallowed hard, stepping forward into the shadows, each step echoing like a drumbeat in the void. A figure stepped forward, one of the sisters' ancestors, glowing softly, eyes filled with both wisdom and warning. You have courage, human, but will you protect what is precious or let it fall? It asked, voice resonating inside Kale's mind. Kyle looked at the swirling visions, each showing suffering or triumph. Feeling the weight of responsibility pressing on him, he reached out, touching one of the visions of a planet under attack, and felt the pain, the fear, the urgency of life struggling to survive. The energy of the chamber responded, symbols spinning faster, light flashing across the walls. Testing his resolve, Kale's heart pounded. But he remembered the youngest girl's words, the trust of the sisters and the responsibility now resting on him. He focused, calming his mind, letting empathy and reason guide his actions. Kale chose carefully, touching visions that needed guidance, diverting destruction, balancing fate where he could. The shadows swirled, testing him further, whispering doubts and fears, showing failures, tempting him to flee. But Kale held firm, each decision deliberate, each choice weighed with care. The youngest girl watched silently, her expression softening, pride mixing with relief. Finally, the chamber stilled, the shadows dissolving, the symbols floating gently back to the ceiling. Kale breathed heavily, exhausted but exhilarated, feeling the bond between him and the sisters grow stronger. The eldest sister nodded. You have proven judgment and heart. Human, but remember, understanding is a journey, not a destination. Kyle felt a strange warmth, a connection he had never known before. linking him to these beings and their world. The youngest girl smiled faintly. You are learning, human, but the universe will demand more. Tests beyond courage and wisdom, challenges that will shake you to your core. Kale nodded, understanding the path ahead would be long and dangerous, but for the first time he felt prepared. The chamber doors opened, leading back to the main hall, and Kale stepped forward, feeling the energy of the sisters surround him like a protective shield. He knew the first trial of courage and understanding was complete, but the secrets revealed tonight had changed everything, and that the choices ahead would test not only his mind and heart, but the very essence of humanity itself. Kale returned to the main hall, the energy of the sisters still humming around him. He felt stronger, wiser, but the weight of the secrets he had seen pressed on his mind. The youngest girl stepped forward, her eyes serious. You have done well, human, but now comes a trial that tests loyalty and courage together. Kale's brow furrowed, curiosity and unease mingling. The other sisters moved closer, forming a protective circle around him, their expressions unreadable. Suddenly the hall darkened, shadows stretching from the corners. Twisting and alive, Kale's instincts screamed danger, his pulse racing as the air grew cold and heavy. From the darkness a figure emerged, cloaked and masked, radiating an energy that made Kale's stomach tighten. The eldest sister spoke firmly. This is your challenge, human, one of trust and betrayal. You must see through deception. Kale's eyes scanned the figure, trying to sense its intent, but the energy around it was confusing, shifting, hiding its true nature. The cloaked figure spoke, voice low and mocking. Human, do you truly believe you belong here? Do you think you can understand us? Kale squared his shoulders, refusing to show fear. I will face whatever comes. I'm not afraid, he said, his voice steady. The figure laughed softly, a sound that echoed in the hall, bouncing off the walls, disorienting him. Suddenly, two more figures appeared, seemingly identical to the first, surrounding Kale, energy crackling in the air. Kale realized quickly that this was a test, one of perception and discernment. He could feel the sisters behind him, their power and energy lending strength, but the shadows pressed forward, challenging him. You must see the truth, the youngest girl whispered. Not all is as it seems, trust what you know, not what you feel. Kale closed his eyes briefly, centering himself, listening to the energy around him, feeling the pulse of the sisters guiding him. When he opened his eyes, he focused on the subtle differences between the figures, movements, and the energy they emitted. He reached out instinctively, touching one of the shadows, and felt a jolt, the figure vanishing in a swirl of light. The other two advanced, faster and more cunning. But Kale anticipated their moves, dodging and weaving. He realized the trial was not only about strength but insight. Perception and judgment, Kale concentrated, letting instinct and observation guide his actions, sensing the moment when the remaining figures were vulnerable. With precise timing, he moved forward, merging energy from the sisters around him, and struck carefully, dissipating the shadows one by one. When the last shadow disappeared, Kale stumbled slightly, panting. Feeling the exhaustion and relief wash over him, the youngest girl smiled faintly. You see now, human, betrayal is not always obvious, and danger is not always physical. Kale nodded, understanding that the challenge had been as much about mental clarity and loyalty as it had been about courage. The eldest sister stepped closer, her eyes intense. You have passed this trial, but the world beyond these walls is harsher, filled with deception, and the weak are preyed upon. Kale's mind raced, thinking of humanity, of his world, and the fragile balance between trust and betrayal. Suddenly, a low rumble shook the hall, the walls quivering, symbols spinning faster, glowing brighter. Kale realized something was coming, something larger than any trial before. The youngest girl's expression grew serious. This is the warning, human, the universe watches, and choices you make have consequences far beyond this chamber. Kale swallowed, heart pounding, but determination surged through him. He turned to face the chamber's center, the glowing symbols rearranging themselves into shapes he could barely comprehend. Then from the energy a massive shadow appeared, stretching across the hall, eyes like burning stars. Kyle stepped back instinctively, feeling the sheer weight of its presence. The eldest sister's voice rang out, firm and commanding. Do not falter, human. Your courage and insight will guide you. Stand tall. Face it as you have all challenges before. Kale's hands clenched, grounding himself, energy from the sisters flowing through him like a current. He could feel the lessons of the previous trials. Courage, understanding, and perception, strengthening his resolve. The massive shadow advanced slowly, testing him, shifting, forming illusions within illusions, challenging his mind. Kale focused, seeing past the false forms, the whispers of doubt, and locking onto the core the true threat. With deliberate steps he approached, channeling the energy and guidance from the sisters, steadying his mind and heart. The shadow faltered under his gaze, its power challenged by his insight and will. Kyle reached out, touching the core of energy, and a surge of light exploded, the shadow dissolving into floating symbols that circled him like sparks. The hall stilled, the energy calming, the sisters observing silently, satisfaction evident in their eyes. The youngest girl stepped forward, placing her hand on Kyle's shoulder. "You have learned to see beyond lies and fear, human. This is a skill you will need in the trials ahead." Kale exhaled slowly, the tension leaving his body, but knowing the journey was far from over. He looked around at the sisters, their silent approval warming him. Giving strength, the eldest sister spoke softly. "Remember, human, trust and courage are intertwined. Deception is everywhere and only the wise survive." Kale nodded, feeling the weight and responsibility settle on him. He knew the universe beyond this chamber would be full of tests, dangers, and choices, but for the first time he felt ready. Armed with courage, insight, and the trust of beings far beyond human comprehension, Kale stood in the quiet hall, the echoes of the shadow trial still ringing in his mind. The sisters surrounded him, their expressions calm but charged with energy. The youngest girl stepped closer, her eyes intense. "You have learned courage, perception, and judgment, human, but the path ahead tests your heart." Kale's chest tightened, realizing that the final trials were not about skill or insight alone, but about sacrifice and choice. The eldest sister spoke, her voice low and commanding. "You will face your greatest challenge yet, one that will determine not just your fate, but ours in the balance of worlds." Kale swallowed hard, the weight of her words pressing upon him. The hall darkened suddenly, the glowing symbols dimming as if the universe itself held its breath. From the shadows a figure appeared, cloaked in golden light, radiating authority and power that made Kale's knees weaken slightly. The figure's eyes met his, piercing, knowing, as if it could read every thought in his mind. "You have come far, human," the voice echoed in the hall. "But do you understand what loyalty truly means?" Kyle felt a chill, realizing that this trial would test not just his courage or judgment, but his willingness to risk everything. The youngest girl's hand rested lightly on his arm, grounding him. "This is the turning point, Kale. The moment your choices matter most." Suddenly, the floor shifted, revealing a glowing path that spiraled downward into darkness. Kale looked at the sisters, their eyes urging him forward, their energy protective yet challenging. He took a deep breath and stepped onto the path, the air thick with tension, the hum of the chamber vibrating through his bones. The path twisted and turned, filled with illusions of fear and doubt. Kale's mind struggling to distinguish reality from deception. Voices whispered around him, some familiar, some alien, testing his resolve, questioning his motives. Tempting him to turn back, Kale clenched his fists, focusing on the lessons of the previous trials, courage, insight, and judgment. A sudden image appeared before him, a vision of the youngest girl trapped, energy swirling around her, her eyes pleading silently. Kyle's heart raced, instinct screaming to save her immediately. But a second vision appeared, another sister in danger, but the path to her blocked by deadly energy. Kale froze, realizing he could save only one, the weight of choice crushing him. The golden figure's voice echoed, calm and steady. "Every action has consequence. Human, which will you choose? Heart or strategy?" Kale's mind whirled, fear and doubt battling with determination. He thought of humanity, of responsibility, of the trust the sisters had placed in him. He remembered the lessons of the shadows, of loyalty and perception, and the whispers of courage. Kale's eyes hardened, and with a deep breath, he chose the youngest girl first. Rushing forward, energy pulsing in his hands, he reached her just as the energy threatened to close in, extending his hands to create a protective barrier. The energy recoiled, the path stabilizing for a moment, Kale feeling the surge of power flowing through him. The youngest girl's eyes met his, gratitude and relief shining, but the vision of the other sister weighed heavily on him. Kale understood the price of choice, the burden of responsibility. and the reality that every decision had a cost. He turned quickly to the other sister, channeling every ounce of energy, every lesson learned, and reached her before danger could strike. The golden figure watched silently, its presence overwhelming but approving. Kale felt a surge of relief and exhaustion, the chamber vibrating with power and recognition. You have acted with courage, human and heart, choosing carefully and wisely under impossible pressure, the golden voice said. The path dissolved, and Kale found himself back in the main hall, the sisters circling him, expressions softening, pride in their eyes. The youngest girl stepped forward, placing her hand on his shoulder. You have passed the turning point, Kale, and proven that your heart can guide you even through impossible choices. The eldest sister nodded. But know this, human, the trials ahead will demand more than courage or insight. They will demand sacrifice and unity. The bonds you build here will shape everything to come. Kale took a deep breath, the weight of understanding settling in, knowing that the universe beyond these walls was far more complex and dangerous than he had ever imagined. Yet he felt ready, strengthened by trials, guided by the sisters, and committed to protecting what mattered most. The chamber's energy swirled gently around him, warm and calming. A stark contrast to the chaos of the turning point. Kale knew that the final trial awaited, a culmination of courage, insight, loyalty, and heart. But for the first time he felt prepared, aware that his choices could shape not just his fate, but the fate of worlds, and that the bond between him and these extraordinary beings had become unbreakable, a link that would guide him through the challenges still to come. Kale stood in the hall, the energy of the sisters surrounding him. Warm yet potent, he had faced courage, judgment, perception, and the weight of impossible choices. Now the final trial awaited, the culmination of everything he had learned. The youngest girl stepped forward, her eyes shining with an intensity that made Kale's heart race. You have grown, human, and now you will face the destiny that brought you here, she said softly. The eldest sister's voice echoed through the hall, firm and unwavering. This is the moment that decides all. Kale, do not falter. Suddenly the chamber shifted, the walls dissolving into a vast expanse of stars and swirling galaxies. Kale's breath caught. The universe itself stretched before him. Endless and alive, from the cosmic void emerged figures, powerful and ancient, radiating energy that made the ground tremble. Kale realized these were the ancestors of the sisters, beings of immense power and wisdom. You have walked our path, human, but now you must prove your unity, your loyalty, and your heart, one of the figures said, voice resonating through Kale's mind. Kale felt the energy pressing on him, challenging every thought, every feeling. Suddenly, visions appeared showing worlds in chaos, planets burning, civilizations falling into shadow. The golden energy of choice flowed toward him, demanding action, judgment, and courage. Kale's mind raced, remembering all he had learned. The first trial, the shadows of betrayal, the turning point, the weight of responsibility. He knew that hesitation would mean failure, that every second counted. The youngest girl's hand rested lightly on his arm, grounding him. Remember your heart. Kale, it is your guide stronger than any fear. Kale nodded, drawing strength from her presence, the bond between them unbreakable. The ancestors' energy surged, testing him further, showing illusions of failure, loss, and despair. Kale's hands clenched, determination filling him. He could not fail now, not when so much depended on him. He stepped forward, moving through the swirling energy, choosing to protect the lives shown in the visions. Each choice felt heavier than the last. The pressure immense, yet Kale acted with clarity, courage, and heart. The cosmic figures observed silently, their eyes reflecting approval but still challenging him. Suddenly a figure appeared unlike the others, cloaked in shadows and doubt, whispering fears into Kale's mind. You cannot succeed, human, you are alone. Powerless, unworthy, it hissed. Kyle shook his head, blocking the whispers. Remembering the lessons of the sisters, the trust they had placed in him, he focused on his purpose, the lives he had vowed to protect, and the bond that tied him to the sisters. The shadowed figure lunged, but Kale met it with energy drawn from the sisters and his own courage. The clash sent waves of power through the cosmic expanse. The stars itself seeming to tremble, Kale held firm, every ounce of his resolve and understanding channeled into a single action. He reached the core of the shadow, confronting it with heart, insight, and unyielding courage. The figure faltered, the darkness dissolving into light. Merging with the swirling galaxies, Cale exhaled, exhaustion and relief flooding him. Yet the moment was far from ordinary. The cosmic void shifted, revealing the sisters standing with him, their expressions proud, unwavering. The youngest girl smiled. "You have done it, Cale. You have proven yourself worthy." "Human," the eldest sister nodded, her eyes softening. "Through courage, judgment, and heart, you have embraced destiny and unity." Cale felt energy surge through him, bonding him permanently to the sisters, the manor, and their lineage. He understood now the magnitude of his journey, the responsibility he carried for worlds, civilizations, and beings beyond human comprehension. The chamber dissolved slowly, the stars and galaxies fading, revealing the familiar hall of the manor, calm and serene. The sisters surrounded him, their presence protective and comforting. "You are no longer just human here, Cale," the youngest girl said. "You are part of something greater, something eternal." Cale felt a deep sense of purpose, his mind clear, his heart steady, the trial shaping him into someone stronger than he had ever imagined. The eldest sister added, "The universe will test you further, Cale, but now you are ready, united with us, guided by trust, courage, and heart." Kyle looked at the sisters, feeling the bond between them, stronger than any energy or force he had encountered. He realized that the journey had changed him forever. The youngest girl placed her hand lightly on his shoulder. "Rest now, human, for tomorrow brings new challenges, but tonight, you have fulfilled your destiny." Cale nodded, feeling a calm he had never known, the trials behind him, the path ahead clear. The energy of the sisters enveloped him, protective, guiding, affirming his courage. He understood that this was only the beginning, but he was ready, united with beings who had once seemed beyond comprehension. And as he closed his eyes, Cale knew that he had passed the ultimate trial, not just of strength or courage, but of heart, loyalty, and unity. The sisters' presence lingered, a reminder that he was never alone and that together, they could face anything the universe sent their way.